to cool off a little bit where we could set up the blind. And if you look real careful, you have to look unbelievably careful here because there happens to be a small snake right here. What you got, Josh?
Got the lake record.
And I want to talk to you a little bit about hunting in general. Now, for many years, about 15.
Welcome to A Sportsman's Life. We're so glad you tuned in to join us for another exciting real-world outdoor adventure right here on A Sportsman's Life.
Getting ready to put together one of our snap lock blinds, and been laying here for just a little bit waiting for it to cool off a little bit where we could set up the blind. And if you look real careful, you have to look unbelievably careful here because there happens to be a small snake right here. And it's right there. It's a small copperhead. There may be some more underneath that, what looks like a rat nest here as well too, but you want to be really careful. It's late summertime. We're getting ready to kind of get ready for deer season, start putting up some things. But whenever you're out in the woods, you want to be really careful. That little rascal right there can hurt you and send you to the hospital. So be careful, but always be on the lookout for any kind of snakes. They're good snakes and they're bad snakes. And this one, you just saw it move. He's going to get ready to move here in a little bit. So I'm going to back off before he comes up toward me. Getting ready to put together the snap lock blind. We finally figured out where we want to set it. Going to change things up a little bit from last year. So kind of, you can see back across here, I think. You can see where Josh is back there bringing some things in. And going to grab this and set it up over there. And then we'll set up our feeder and get a corn in it. And it's also in an area that last year, Lance saw a tremendous amount of wild hogs here as well too. My daughter Teresa hunted out of this area right in here, and so I think there's an opportunity if we set up a feeder that we're also going to be able to shoot a few hogs, maybe either before the deer season starts or maybe right after it starts, and then of course after it's over with as well too. So Josh is picking up all the pieces, making sure we don't have another copperhead in here somewhere. Got this snap lock blind too late last year to really do anything with it before the hunting season started, or it was after the hunting season was over with that we finally got it here. So now we're going to set it up and put up a feeder. And like I mentioned, we've got wild hogs in this area as well too. Obviously, there were a couple of copperheads that come in here occasionally. So we're going to see what we can come up with. This will be a fun blind right here. Large enough area where we can see, and also close enough to three sets of woods actually, where last year we saw a couple of pretty good bucks and got some trail camera pictures, some pretty good deer as well too. So we're going to drag this one over, and next thing time we get it all set up, we're going to be peering out of that window right there probably, or one of them, and getting ready to hopefully shoot a whitetail deer or wild hog. I've had a chance to hunt out of these blinds quite a bit on Jeff Rice's place. They work extremely well. They're lightweight, and you can put them up pretty quickly, or you can take them down too. Come together very easily. Maybe it's upside down. Look, you're getting it up right. All of them are right? That's why it's called snap lock. snap it and it locks. And I forgot to tell you that grass cuts. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to steal that greenbrier from over there. Okay, everything put together except for the top.
It's going to be down here below the window. And then that's what this thing is. Snaps over to it.
Probably help us with it in a handful of it though. Okay. Sometimes you discover all kinds of different things when you're working out in the woods. This little green spider, kind of unique. Okay, everything's completed but the roof. Got the snap lock put together. Went together probably in a grand total of about 10 minutes. And that's with us trying to do things wrong a few times. So it's a really nice little blind. Like I said, I've hunted from them in the past. I was hunting with Jeff and Luke on the buck and bass. Come back in here, we'll clean the insides up a little bit with all the dirt. Put a floor in it, and this thing will be ready for the hunting season, which is only about 2 months away.
Brought to you by Dallas Safari Club, Conservation, Education, and Hunter Advocacy. Hornaday, accurate, deadly, dependable. Taurus Firearms, maker of the Raging Hunter. Trigicon, brilliant aiming solutions.
Set it up underneath this tree. Hopefully it'll be where there's shade regardless of whether it's morning or afternoon. If we have to, we'll probably move it forward a little bit just simply to follow the shade. But I think we're going to be in pretty good shape right there. That's where the stand is going to be. Just right behind me is where we're going to set up a corn feeder. And that's to try to hopefully track a mature buck out into the open. Sometimes those deer don't come to the feeders, those older mature deer, but they'll come to where the does are. Right about there, set her down, let's see what we got. There you can see the feeder, and in the background you can also see the deer blind. And what we've done is set it up such that there is an open area they have to cross as they're coming from the west. They'll feel some security here on the south side and the east side. Over on the west we've got a pretty good open area. We use a variety of feed, or a variety of feeders I should say. One of the things is one we've had for a while. We've got some smaller ones that we set up earlier in a little bitty pocket over on my own personal place. This is a piece of property that I leased and had for the last 3 years. We have yet to take a deer out of here. So it's one of those situations where we passed up some really nice 2-year-olds and probably a 3-year-old or so that this year, if they're in the area, then we'll have an opportunity. Just to our east and south is more to the east I should say, is a high fence, and what happens a lot of times is when those bucks start chasing, here our rut is usually about that first week in November, last week of October, during the tail end of bow season. They'll run those does up to that high fence. I don't think you can see it back there, but they run up to to the high fence where they can keep an eye on them, so they can't get away from the other side. And so you can use those high fences to the advantage. That guy that put up the high fence, our neighbor, is a really good guy, but he also has a bunch of exotics, and so he's released exotics in there as well too. And that's the main reason for the fences, so he doesn't lose his exotics all over this country.
Good working.
Sometimes you run across armadillo holes, such as what this is right here. You can see the hole they dig in the ground, that's where they live. But what I want to show you is there are snake drags all along here. And those snakes, you can see those drag marks where they use this as a den So it's one of those things, you don't want to stick your hand in a hole here anywhere, and you want to be real careful where you do things here. There are quite a few copperheads, as we saw earlier. That was a little one, but there are a lot of copperheads in this area, and there's no doubt you can see the drags going down in the water, into the hole here, I should say. And we'll be real careful later on. These don't look like copperhead drags, so they look like some kind of constrictor. Looking at the size, and it's probably a western racer, what we used to call a coach whip, that lives in this one. And there may be some others in there as well too, but got to be real cognizant and be really aware of snakes when you're working in, like we do here in this kind of western edge of the East Texas area. We're kind of on the edge of, right on the edge of the Gulf Coast Prairie, and also of the piney woods just to the east of us, and a lot of different vegetation here. But you got to be careful, like I said, of snakes year round. Even during the winter time, sometimes these snakes will be crawling. It's the early part of August, and it is horribly dry in our part of the world, which means there's not a lot of ground vegetation for these animals to eat right now. That being the case, I got a feeling the hogs, the coons, foxes, coyotes, and deer are going to be probably coming to corn here pretty quickly. We've thrown out a bunch of extras of it right here, kicked around a bunch of it on the ground to kind of get these animals coming this way.
I'm just setting this up so it's not taking a million pictures. I'm going to try and set this to where it takes one every 30 seconds or so. That way, when we come back, it doesn't just completely bog down our computers.
Last year we had a ground blind set up just beyond this little bush right here, and there were bucks working this area pretty regularly. There were a lot of rubs and scrapes kind of along the edge of this opening. It's an old gravel pit area. When I was a kid growing up, these were really thick woods. But this is one of those places here that for whatever reason just kind of calls me whenever I come down here to look around. And it always just felt like this is a place that you ought to be able to find a pretty good deer. And sure enough, Lance saw a really nice 10-point for our area here. Unfortunately, didn't get a good shot at him, so he was not taken by us, and he was not taken by any of our neighbors. Hopefully, with it being as dry as it's been, hopefully he's as good as what he was last year. We left several young 8-points. I'm talking about young being 2, and even some 3-year-old 8-points and 10-points last year in this area. It's hunted all around us, but not hunted very heavily, and most of these folks are kind of under the same thing what we're trying to do. They're trying to get some older age bucks in this area. This is one of these areas where, by state regulation, buck has to have 4 points per side, or he has to be a 13-inch inside spread, which is a primary thing considering all the parameters that you have to meet as a 13-inch inside spread. You can take some spikes, which we generally just kind of leave alone because we want to try to increase the buck population here. But then secondarily, too, you can take a buck if he's got 6 points on one side or 6 points or more. So we got a few of those bucks like that. There is an old 6-point that roams around in through here that this year I'm guessing he's probably going to be a 4 or 5-year-old deer. And in the past, he's just had G2s and brow tines and the main beam, and saw him last year, and he was, oh my gosh, I never got a chance to take him. If I'd had anything but trail camera pictures of him, I probably would have shot him. He was just a cool-looking deer, and this year I got a feeling he'll be back. He's been the same pretty much every year in terms of the number of points that he has, and of course the spread and main beam have increased, as has the mass. And also there's a 8-point here last year that we got trail camera pictures of that we had a little bit of a drop time. I'm hoping he shows back up again this year, so who knows? We'll come back in here. This is an area that Lance will hunt primarily. I may come over a day or two if when he can't come to hunt this area, and then we'd set up another area with the snap lock blind primarily for my daughter to hunt, my daughter Teresa, and if we need to bring somebody else down, somebody else will hunt out of there as well too. What you got, Josh?
Got the lake record.
The lake record.
Largemouth.
That is a beautiful little largemouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference how big they are, does it?
No, sir. They're all fun to catch.
We have Josh and Lance Taggart, my son-in-law, and Josh Gonzalez, my one of my twin grandsons. We got them out fishing here at one of the ponds on our place, and I don't know if we catch them catching anything, but earlier it was almost like every cast. Josh was catching some that were about 3 inches long, some bass, and then some really nice different sunfish too. Looked like there's a long-eared brim here, and then caught a couple of them that looked like a really cool-looking little bluegill. But the water level is way down, and oh my gosh, I've never seen this pond this low, but there's still a good probably 8 or 10 feet of water here. It's a really deep tank, built kind of like a bread pan, if you will, to where it has steep sides once you get out there, and there's a little drainage into it. And it is just one of those areas to where been here for a long time. This tank's never gone dry, and I hate saying that because this is one of those years where if we don't get some rain pretty soon, we're going to start seeing some tanks go dry. The one on my home place, it's already almost dry. It's kind of like a mud hole. We're fishing right during the heat of the day. It's about 2 o'clock, but we kind of took a break, got 2 deer stands set up with feeders, and I'm going to go put out another mineral lick here in just a little bit. I'm going to get Josh to help me with it when we finish fishing. We got to put up a couple more trail cameras at the one of the blinds, so hopefully we'll start seeing some different things show up there at the feeders. Set the feeders up between you and me, whoever's listening, but primarily for hogs. We've got a lot of hogs in this area, and hopefully Josh just hollered over here a while ago. He said, "Do you have a cow in this pasture?" And I said, "No, there are no cattle in this pasture." And he said, "Well, there's a hog in here as big as a cow." So hopefully it's one of those that I can find a little bit later on here, and maybe about 3 or 4 weeks when I get a chance to get back down here for a while. Getting into the fall, it's going to get tough for me to really spend any time on the property like I want to. Got another lease about 4 hours, 5 hours from here that I try to spend some time on this year. It's an 8,000 acre lease, and on that one I can shoot multiple deer. Here we're set up to where basically we're going to try to kill maybe a total of 3 total bucks off of the properties that I have in my lease. We'll see though. We got an abundance of older age deer, which we have been building up for the last 3 years. I've had this property leased, and in the process of that, I've shot 1 buck on my own property. It's something I wanted to do for a long, long time. And then one of my grandsons, Josh's brother, twin brother, Justin, I was able to take a doe last year, and that's the only deer that we've taken off this property. So we got about 3 years invested into a bunch of this stuff right here, and hopefully it'll start paying off a little bit. We've picked out a spot that we want to put a mineral lick in, and what we got Josh doing here is he's going to dig a hole, a little shallow hole that we can pour mineral in, and then what we're going to do is over the top of it put corn. We're not too far away from, not too far away from, there's a feeder and there's water and everything else, and there's a trail that kind of comes through here just to our right. Dig that a little bit deeper there, just going to pull it out. And all the dust come with us. Get a little bit deeper, guys, because I want to. That'll be good right there. Just gonna pull it off to the side. There we go. Okay, we're gonna go back and get the mineral, and then we're gonna put the mineral in it, and then we're gonna pour some corn in on top of it too. Of course, we got native fire ants there as well too. You can see them crawling all around. We'll see how they do around mineral. That'll be good. Now we're going to throw some corn in on top of it to get them used to coming to one particular spot. This one's not going to be far off the road. Sometimes I've had these set up a long way off the road. We got a sack open there. This is an old sack of corn from last year that the hogs, I'm sure, will find very appreciative of. Just kind of pour it around on top of it. There you go. We're going to put that whole sack right around here. So. Okay, now they know what it is. We've got a place set up here where we do have the mineral underneath. Generally what happens is these animals will come to this corn, and they want to come into this corn so they know that there's something there. But when they taste that mineral, there's a good chance that they'll keep coming back. We'll come back here in about a week or so and maybe freshen the mineral and throw some more corn on it. But something I should have done a little bit earlier this year, and unfortunately just now getting to it. But the does are lactating, the fawns are probably about 2 months old, and the bucks are starting to finish up as far as antler development is concerned. Great way to add a little bit of mineral, and you'll find that if they need it, they'll use it. If they don't need it, they won't use it. So it's always better to err on the side of having some than not having some.
A Sportsman's Life is also brought to you by Air Force Air Guns, AGM Global Vision, H3 Whitetail Solutions, Pyramid Air, Gear the Hunt, and Horizon Smokers.
Good morning, sports fans. This is your fishing tip on A Sportsman's Life. Today we're going to talk about slabs. A slab is a lead spoon. I am asked constantly. It is exactly what we say. We fish this bait vertically. This right here is a 2-ounce bait. We fish in deep water for these stripers. Now, the way we apply these things is we either drop them, rip them up, or we bump them on the bottom. That's real popular on the flats. I got something cool right here. Chris made this for me, and it's 50 years of slabs. There's the evolution of slabs. Round ones, fat ones, short ones, skinny ones, but this is the slab. We use this as much as we do jig fishing, and it's a great way to catch stripers. I know our host Luke just loves to go slabbing. So if you ever have any questions, just give us a call. This is Bill Carey with Striper Express with your fishing tip on A Sportsman's Life. Go catch a fish.
Conservation Today is brought to you by Hayden Outdoors Real Estate, the brand that sells the land. Visit HaydenOutdoors.com to find or sell your farm, ranch, or recreational property.
Labor Day weekend, doe seasons are open in Texas. Gold does are flying, so I'm gonna do some scouting. Found some persimmons here. This old persimmon tree has been here for a long time. Come whitetail deer season, I know those deer are gonna be right here picking up the ripe fruit from this persimmon tree. Good place to start hunting.
Hello friends, it's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I want to talk to you a little bit about hunting in general. Now, for many years, about 15 years, all I hunted with was a bow, a compound bow, and I still enjoy hunting with a bow, but I also have a lot of fun hunting with big bore air guns, centerfire rifles, you name it. So I shoot my bow nowadays about once a week, sometimes actually once every couple of weeks, but I stay proficient enough to hunt with it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Why limit yourself to one way of hunting? Hunt with a bow, hunt with a big bore air gun, hunt with a rifle, hunt with a pistol. I will say this, that back in the day, when I only hunted with a bow, a compound bow, I shot it every day, almost every day, and I was very, very proficient. But you don't have to be that proficient to hunt with a bow. If you can, I'm going to show you some shots at 25 yards. The last time I've shot this bow was 3 weeks ago, really. But if you can keep them in a 4-inch circle at 25 yards, that's great. You should be able to keep them a lot tighter than that, and you will be if you practice a little bit. But for years, about 8 years, I outfitted with Larry Large, buddy of mine up in Colorado, and guided elk and bear archery hunts. Out there, you need to shoot. Some of these guys, they were all good at 40 yards, and some at 50. But for game, keep those shots inside 30 yards. You'll kill a lot more game. Let me just show you a few 3 shots. I'm not doing this to brag. It's not going to be a real tight group, I can almost guarantee you. But at 25 yards, I'm going to get back on the porch here, a little bit elevated position, and shoot at a target out there about 26 yards away. But my plan is to show you. You don't have to be a tack driver with a bow to kill game. Hopefully all 3 of these shots, I'll shoot 3 of them, will suffice to down any deer or hog that you want to hunt. So here we go. Let's make a few shots and take a look. Well, there you go, folks. I'm not going to be winning any archery contest with that group, but all 3 of those shots would have been a dead ringer to kill a hog at 25 yards or a deer. So my whole idea for doing this little segment for you, think about learning something new. Big bore air guns, if you don't shoot those, get you one. Start trying, hunt with that, learn how to shoot it. Archery, this is a gearhead bow. I've had it several years. Awesome bow. Get you a bow and start shooting. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope the wind hasn't messed us up too much. It's kind of windy out here right now. Folks, thanks so much for joining us. This segment of our show is brought to us by Gearhead Archery, Snaplock Hunting Blinds, Smoking Texas Electric Smokers, TRHP Outdoors, Ultramatic Feeders, and Catfish Pro Catfish Bait and Catfishing Supplies. Make sure and tune in next week. We'll have another exciting show ready to go for you.